My previous video was a massive hit to the entire One Piece power scaling community. Not only did it open a lot of people's eyes on how the Onigashima calculations are in fact invalid, but it also lived up to its name, getting a lot of One Piece fans very angry. I've received a lot of insults and a lot of spam, but not one person could present any real argumentation. Not one person could debunk a single thing that I've said in my entire video. The only thing they could do is make up personal attacks and duck debates. And I am very satisfied with that video. However, this video is going to be even more devastating to the One Piece community, because it's going to debunk so many things that it will change your entire perspective on One Piece power scaling forever. This is the ultimate One Piece debunk. Firstly, we'll be starting with the Whitebeard earthquakes. For the longest time, people have been making wacky calculations to say that these earthquakes are either large island level or country level or large country level, perhaps even continental. And some people even claim that since Whitebeard apparently displaces tectonic plates, that would make him multi-continental. And the time has come for this to be debunked officially. Firstly, we will be looking at Versus Battles Wiki's argumentation for the earthquakes being country level. On all their calculations, Versus Battles Wiki takes the height of the tsunami and uses a formula to claim that using the height of the tsunami, they can calculate the magnitude of the earthquake in Richter scale. After pixel scaling the tsunami is to be a kilometer or two like usual, they use that formula and claim that the earthquakes that Whitebeard caused had a magnitude of 11 or 12, which is beyond the highest possible earthquake. Then they use an online calculator that showcases how much power is required to cause such an earthquake, and they claim that's enough to conclude that he is country level. All I have to say is that this is completely invalid. You can't use the height of the tsunami alone and get the magnitude of the earthquake. That's not how it works. To demonstrate that, I'll use a real-life example. The Alaska earthquake of July 9th, 1958. This earthquake generated a tsunami of over half a kilometer in terms of height, and yet its magnitude was only 7.8. And using their own source, that's only city level. And yet if we take their formula and change the tsunami height to 512 meters, suddenly the earthquake in Alaska would become a magnitude 11 earthquake, and it would be large island to small country level. So the formula they use does not apply whatsoever. Completely inconsistent with reality. You cannot only look at tsunami height and suddenly get an earthquake to magnitude 11 or 12. That's not how it works. As for the next argument I've seen, which isn't from Versus Battles Wiki but is still a very common misconception, is that Whitebeard's earthquakes work by displacing the tectonic plates, which people claim would automatically qualify for multi-continental. That's a gross misrepresentation of what Whitebeard's power actually does. In both the anime and the manga, it's shown that Guru Guru no Mi does not work like that. It's not Whitebeard punching the ground and the tectonic plates getting displaced, thus causing an earthquake. It's rather Whitebeard causing a vibration and shaking the target directly without shaking any tectonic plates. We've seen that countless times. For example, Whitebeard using Guru Guru no Mi to break Aokiji's ice without causing any earthquakes, without displacing any tectonical plates. Or using Guru Guru no Mi to directly shatter Aokiji himself without causing any earthquake, or using Guru Guru no Mi to directly destroy a helmet and an axe without causing an earthquake, or even throwing a Guru Guru no Mi energy ball to shake a building without causing an earthquake directly. Aokiji also verbatim states that Guru Guru no Mi works by causing vibrations. We even see Whitebeard cause a punch which causes a vibration which attacks specifically a wall without attacking anything behind him. So this is not a case of Whitebeard destroying tectonical plates and causing earthquakes. It's rather simply Whitebeard causing vibrations to shake things of his choosing directly. Here is an easy way to visualize this. Imagine me shaking somebody up and down using my own hands, pushing them back and pulling them forward again, over and over again. I am causing somebody to shake directly with my own hands. Not very impressive, is it? But now imagine if I punched the ground and caused an earthquake, and that earthquake shakes them. Now, the second one would naturally be much stronger. The second one would be a city level or above feet. Well, the first one would be human level. And you can imagine the first one to be Whitebeard. What Whitebeard is actually doing. He uses Guru Guru no Mi, and Guru Guru no Mi shakes the water directly without shaking the tectonic plates themselves. Whereas what people claim he does is the much stronger version where he punches the ground, destroys the tectonic plates, and that causes the water to be shaken, which isn't how Whitebeard's power works, as we've established. Therefore, when Whitebeard is causing tsunamis, all he does really is splash water. He isn't destroying any tectonic plates and anything of that nature. When Whitebird shakes the ground or buildings, he's simply shaking them directly without shaking the land much below himself or the tectonic plates. So no, Whitebird's quakes are not multi-continental neither. Now that we've debunked versus Battle's Wiki's flawed usage of the formula and the claim that Whitebird shakes tectonic plates, we've destroyed another multi-continental argument and versus Battle's Wiki's country-level Whitebird calculations. And this would also include Blackbird's Warch Island level calculation, because it uses the same flawed formula that we've discussed earlier. This leaves the One Piece verse with only two country-level feats, which we'll be debunking right now. Both of those feats rely on Versus Battles Wiki's new calculation for Dressrosa's size. You see, before according to Versus Battles Wiki, Dressrosa was only 9.8 kilometers in diameter, going by their pixel calculations. This meant that Fujitora lifting Dressrosa would only be city plus level according to their own calculations, and Zoro cutting Pika would only be mountain level, since Pika is scaled from Dressrosa's size. However, with their new claim that Dressrosa is 84 kilometers in diameter, all of those feats are massively upscaled, with Fujitora lifting Dressrosa being small country level according to them, and Zoro cutting Pika being country level according to them. This new size also massively upscales every single other Dressrosa feat, for example Fujitora's Ferocious Tiger, which goes from city level to island level, and King Elisabelu and Chinchao's Countering Punch's Punch going from city level to island level plus. So as you can see, Dressrosa's size is actually extremely impactful to the tiers of the feats in the verse. So let's take a look and see why they claim it's that big. They basically use the claim that the birdcage was traveling at a speed of 16 meters per second. Then they claim that the birdcage would need an hour to destroy Dressrosa. With this, they calculate the radius and in turn the diameter of Dressrosa. However, the claim for birdcage speed is completely wrong. Basically, they use this clip to claim that the birdcage had this level of speed. And this doesn't work because they've completely nitpicked it. Because if you take the time to actually watch the anime like I've done, you would notice that on every single other occasion the birdcage actually moves way slower. On many occasions we see that the cage isn't even moving 1 meter per second. In fact, on most instances the birdcage doesn't even move 1 meter in multiple seconds. And to support my argument even further, the regular people in Dressrosa were consistently able to outrun the cage for an hour. Everyone except for the odd people was able to get to the center of Dressrosa, and the only issue was the fact that they had nowhere to run due to the birdcage surrounding everybody, not due to the fact that it's so fast that they can't outrun it. The normal person can run at 4 meters per second, approximately. So that means that the birdcage would definitely be slower than that. So in turn, using that inconsistent frame to claim that the birdcage is magically 16 meters per second makes absolutely no sense, and it's invalid. Therefore, the best case scenario for Dressrosa's size would be the previously calculated pixel scale of 9.8 kilometers. This downscales all Dressrosa calcs on versus Battles Wiki currently, with the country level feeds being downscaled to mountain level or city level, with island level feeds being downscaled to city level or town level, and anything below being downscaled even below that, destroying several of their mountain level claims, several island level claims, and the two remaining country level claims for One Piece. And matter of fact, we can go even lower than 9.8 kilometers because even that is nitpicked, considering the fact that we actually have many shots where Dressrosa appears to be way smaller. In fact, Dressrosa doesn't even appear to be like 5 kilometers in some shots. That's because the fighting arena isn't much smaller than the fighters, and in turn, the fighting arena isn't much smaller than the Coliseum, which on its own is a massive part of Dressrosa that's visible on all of the representations of Dressrosa. Versus Battles Wiki would like you to believe that this Coliseum is like a kilometer in diameter or something, but that's completely false because we see that it's much smaller than that on every single frame. So just by debunking those two super easy to debunk Tsunami formulas and birdcage speed arguments, we already debunked so many One Piece feats that the verse is all the way down to island level. In fact, it only has two remaining island level calculations on versus Battles Wiki's profile, those being Zunesha's Trunk Swing and Enel's Raigo. And surprise, surprise, we'll be debunking those calculations as well because they are actually flawed as well. For the Zunesha calculation, it's actually very simple. They use the canonical height of Zunesha to calculate its trunk and how massive it should be. Then they use Zunesha's positioning in the manga right before the swing to calculate the distance between the ships and its trunk. Then they simply take the anime time frame to get the speed of the trunk, and voila, I want level Zunesha. However, there is one massive, and I mean massive flaw to this entire argument. The fact that they did not use the actual time frame for the anime. They claim that he swung that entire mass in 9 seconds, but that's not true because in the anime version you clearly see that it took him about 30 seconds to swing it. The 9-second value was not for the trunk swing that we see in the manga which they calculate, it was actually from an entirely different attack which wasn't present in the manga. So versus Battle's Wiki essentially completely lied to you and claimed that the swing took 9 seconds when in reality that was a completely different attack. This is how desperate One Piece power scalers really are. And before you ask whether that would make anime exclusive Zunesha I want level, that's not the case because the distance is different from the initial attack. That's a different attack with different positioning and different distance from the ships. Therefore, this anime exclusive attack, which isn't in the manga taking 9 seconds, could simply be the result of the trunk being way closer to the ships than it was before. Therefore, the kinetic energy would not be anywhere near as high. Now that we know this, if we use the anime time frame for the actual swing, which is 27 seconds, this feat would only be Warch Mountain level. It doesn't even reach I want level. It's only 2.7 gigatons of TNT. Nowhere near those 13 gigatons that Versus Battles Wiki claimed. This leaves Versus Battles Wiki with only a single feat that's above Warch I want level, which is an Else Raigo, which they've calculated to 7.2 gigatons of TNT. The argument is actually extremely simple, and I was going to destroy Skypiea, and they pixel scale the size of Skypiea in order to get the feat to I want level. Pixel scale basically uses Mary's size compared to the size of an else's ship, then it uses the size of an else's ship compared to the seat in the center of the island, and then it uses the size of the seat compared to the island. Then they use the map to calculate the width of the island based on the diameter of the island, and they get 6.6 kilometers for the diameter and 3.8 kilometers for the width. But as always, this is extremely nitpicked and inconsistent. For example, multiple times we see a small river that isn't much wider than a small boat of about 2 meters in diameter. At most, this river appears to be about 30 meters wide, and that's about it. If Skypiea was truly 6 kilometers in diameter, it would have to be hundreds of times bigger than this river, and yet multiple times we see that this river is actually not that much smaller than Skypiea. Direct shots from the manga and the map itself show that the river is only about a few dozen times smaller than the island itself at most. The river's size is also consistent with it not appearing much bigger than some buildings, which aren't much larger than the characters. Furthermore, despite Versus Battles Wiki calculating the seat at the center of the island to be over 70 meters in diameter, we have many examples where the seat doesn't even appear to be that much bigger than a normal person. Compared to the characters that we see the seat compared to, it appears to be about 20 to 30 meters at most, nowhere near 70 meters or 78 meters. They also used an inconsistent frame to compare the Eno ship to the seat because they used a frame where they appear about even in size, when there are frames where the ship appears to be about 2 times as wide. So once again they used an incredibly inconsistent way to pixel scale the island and get it as high as they possibly can in order to highball the feats. If we use my scale, diamond would be about a kilometer or maybe even 2 kilometers in diameter, but that's about it. And that would make its volume way smaller than what it would be with the 6 kilometer value. The difference, however, between me and Versus Battles Wiki is that as usual, I actually have consistency and they don't, because I've shown way more panels for diamond and the seat appear to be way smaller than what they claim. There is also the fact that they rely on a higher chain of scaling. For their claim to work, first they must calculate the size of Sunny, then using the size of Sunny they calculate the size of Eno's ship, then using the size of Eno's ship they calculate the size of the seat, and then using the size of the seat they calculate the size of the island. That's far too many steps for a manga that's not consistent in art. The more steps, the more likely you are to use inconsistent paneling. The less steps, the better is what I'm saying, and my argument uses half the steps that Versus Battles Wiki uses, because all I really need is to calculate the size of the bridge of the ship that Wookie was riding, and then I must calculate the size of the island of the bridge. It's that simple. So now that I've demonstrated why my values are actually better than Versus Battles Wikis, I can do one more thing, and that is to halve the size that they got in order to get the power of the feat. If we reduce the size of diamond by half, we reduce the volume and the mass by 8 times. This in turn reduces the power of the feat by 8 times. So we go from 7.24 gigatons of TNT, which is Silent level, all the way down to 905 megatons of TNT, which is only mountain level, not even large mountain level, only mountain level. And with that, we say bye-bye to the last Island level feat that Versus Battles Wiki has to One Piece. Just by addressing 4 heavily fault arguments, we already removed all country level feats and all island level feats that remained on Versus Battles Wiki, that I haven't debunked already. Matter of fact, the best calculation that Versus Battles Wiki has left is Jinbe's shooting water, which is 2.43 gigatons of TNT. This means that the best calculation Versus Battles Wiki has remaining is for a Yonko, and it's literally only large mountain level. Planetary Bajrangan, World-Shaking Whitebeard, Tsunami Calculations, Onigashima, Dressrosa, Multi-Continental Shiki, Gear Multipliers, Zunesha and Trigo.
All dead. As is your grandson, Joaquin.
So as of now, all the verse is left with is a bunch of town level feats, city level feats, and a few mountain level feats. There is nothing more the verse has as of now. So that begs the question, how strong is One Piece currently? Well, there is an easy way to find out. We know that Gear 5 Luffy against Kizaru is 100 times stronger than he was against Kizaru the first time. This is consistent with Relate only being 100 times stronger than Luffy was at that time as well. This means that to calculate Gear 5 Luffy's power, we just need to find the best feat on Versus Battles Wiki that he scales to, and then multiply it by 100. That would be Luffy's calculation of 23.26 megatons of TNT. Multiplied by 100, we get 2.3 gigatons of TNT, which is large mountain level.
But Key, it's stated in the novel that Whitebeard can destroy islands.
Yeah, that's irrelevant because the manner of destruction, how many shots it would take Whitebeard to destroy it, and the size of the island was never mentioned, so that's irrelevant. Bird couldn't even destroy the marine fort in one shot, let alone a whole island, unless it's an incredibly small island like Onigashima, of course. So yeah, the way I see it, the verse is pretty much large mountain level and is approaching island level, but isn't yet reaching it. You can cry about it, but your feelings won't change the facts. If you've liked my video, consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more awesome content. And also consider sharing this video so that more people can see it and we can spread accurate power scaling. Because it's very important to clear the debating community of such misconceptions and fallacies, to make the power scaling community a better place for people to enjoy. See ya.